This is video 4. I'm glad you made it this far, and this section is extremely important to your rights as an American citizen, okay? Know your rights, understand and comprehend your rights to the full extent of the law, all right? I'm gonna go over some Texas penal codes. I'm from Texas. Anyone watching this, whatever state you're in, laws will be similar. The principles are similar, but for penal codes and sections and articles, you want to look up the specifics because laws are they kind of change a little bit. Some laws have the right to stand your ground. Some laws have the right to retreat. Okay. There's also proportional force. Proportional force. You can't shoot someone if they slap you. There has to be proportional force. There has to be imminent deadly threat to your life for you to use deadly force to protect yourself or protect your family. Okay, so these laws, I'll start with Texas Penal Code Section 9.31. These are laws that my specialist attorney, he's a super lawyer, my specialist attorney super lawyer gave me, and I'm going to give to you, okay? So I learned these, took me some time, but I studied them very well, and you want to understand them, the best you can, all right, before you take any action. Now, Texas Penal Code Section 9.31, that's defense, self-defense, okay? You can use violence, you can use physical force, but not deadly force, okay? Just physical force to protect your family. It could be like mace, a taser, physical violence, but not killing anybody. A hospitalization at the most, but not killing them. Lethal force, self-defense with lethal force, that's under Texas Penal Code Section 9.32. 9.32, Texas Penal Code Section 9.32. You can utilize lethal force, deadly force to protect yourself from anyone. If a cop is using unlawful force and you in fear for your life and he's like shooting at you for like no reason, or he's drunk, or maybe he's inebriated off duty, or something crazy's happening, it's been known to happen sometimes. With the George Floyd incident, George Floyd, that cop killed George Floyd, just putting his knee on his neck for like 17, 19 minutes, whatever it was, and basically murdering him in front of everybody. And legally, people were scared because they have guns. But if someone rushed him or tackled him, or it'd be understandable, they might still get in trouble. It's hard to protect yourself against the law when the law is supposed to protect you. And if the law is corrupt, it's hard to get a good judge. It's hard to get a good lawyer to fight for you. It's hard. Sometimes they don't have compassion for you. Sometimes if you're a minority, you're just kind of bound to lose. You're destined to lose. If you don't have money to hire a competent attorney, or the judge, is from a small town, and maybe he's traditional or conservative, or maybe even a little racist, or he just stereotypes or whatever. But judges aren't perfect. People aren't perfect. Lawyers aren't perfect. Cops are not perfect. They're people. They racially profile, they stereotype, they discriminate, and they make mistakes, and they're violent, and they have sometimes predatory tendencies, and they harm people. But back to Texas Penal Code Section 9.32, lethal force to protect yourself from anyone. It could be anyone, anybody in the world, anyone. If someone's using unlawful physical force against you, and you're in fear for your life, okay? You can legally, with if you reasonably believe your life is in danger, then you can utilize deadly force to protect yourself, okay? Whether it's physical, or if you have a knife or a gun, or however you decide to take their life. If someone's attacking you, if someone's jumping you, you're being jumped by a gang, whatever. But like with fentanyl drug dealers, I know it's like there's a very gray area. I've been advised not to really talk about this, but you want to be very careful with drug dealers, because cops don't understand drugs as an imminent threat. Even though if there's a potent lethal dose of fentanyl in there, they see it as, well, you're making the decision, it's not imminent, you could flush it down the toilet. So you can't just go out and start murdering your drug dealers unless they pose a threat and danger, unless they keep harassing you, unless they've already overdosed one of your family members and they've already been hospitalized, and maybe one of them has already died. You've already lost a family member, or maybe 2 or 3 family members, and the drug dealer's harassing more of your family, and sometimes there's crimes of passion. Sometimes there's just being a man, or doing what you have to do, standing up for what you believe in, standing up for duty and principle and honor, and standing up for your family, and vengeance, revenge, call it that, being a vigilante, if the law is inadequate to protect you and your family. All these things I'm not supposed to talk about, but this is how I would feel if I had, I do have a daughter, but if I have, if I had to protect her from, drug dealers just coming after her, trying to manipulate her, coerce her, persuade her, hit her up all the time on social media, and try to just get her, to buy these drugs and take her money and steal her money, fund the cartel, and get her messed up and probably take advantage of her. And then, she's ended up in the hospital and dying, all that. That would piss off any father. That would piss off any mother, and if you get angry, that's just common, natural, emotion. That's a human inclination, human instinct to protect your offspring, human instinct to protect yourself and your family. You can't just kind of be sad and kind of don't know what to do and confused and rely on the law, but sometimes you have to do something. Anger is a leadership trait, okay? The military, they get angry, they get mortared, they get bombed, they get shot at, they get pissed off, and they run and charge towards danger. They charge towards enemy fire, and they kill the enemy out of anger, not out of fear, not out of like being sad. They just lost someone, a soldier, a fellow soldier, but they're pissed off now. That angers them. That's why we win wars, That's why men win wars. We get pissed off. And so, all this psychological warfare with the drug cartel and drug dealers, it's a war. The cartel, it's called the drug wars. These are drug wars. And there's psychological wars going on within these wars. And, we have to stand up and we have to fight. And fighting, it doesn't all have to be violence. It doesn't have to be shootouts. It doesn't have to be, it could be verbal. It could be in court. It could be, move in, just disappear, block them, disappear, avoidance, prevention, and escaping, just escaping. Do the best you can to escape the situation. Analyze your situation, assess it, and figure out how you can escape to a better life, a better world, okay? Another city, a new chance, new friends, new circle, new AA sponsor, new AA meetings, a new church, a new job, a whole new life with a new family. And, with a clean life. Escape this old life, escape your old life, and, relocate and start your new life fresh and clean, okay? So that's Texas Penal Code Section 9.32, lethal force to defend yourself, okay? Texas Penal Code Section 9.33, that's it can be lethal force in, some states. With Texas, you want to double check on it, but that's deadly force to protect others, a third party, okay? What you would use in self-defense, whether it's deadly or not deadly, you have the right to defend your family. That's a third party. The defense of a third party, defense of others, okay? Sometimes in some states it's different because you might not have the right to protect a stranger. It has to be like a close friend or family. But in Texas, friends and family, and just defending others, okay? Defend someone innocent. It could be an elderly lady, elderly woman. It could be a friend. It could be a family member. But protecting anyone from danger if something's happening, you have the right. It's like a Good Samaritan Act, It's kind of like being a vigilante or whatever, but it's called the Good Samaritan Act. And you have the right to protect women and children, the right to defend others, okay? And if you have to utilize maximum force, if you have to utilize physical force, violence, explosive speed and violence, if you have to utilize deadly force, that's your decision. And there's always going to be repercussions. There's always going to be like a court case. There's always going to be cops involved, lawyers involved. All of these laws, I'm telling you, so you can understand, research them better. They're going to be in my notes that you can download. But you're always going to want to have to call the cops. You're always going to want to call the cops and report everything. Get them out. Say, I want a cop to come out. I need to file a police report. File that police report. Go to that police station. Everything that happens, chart it. This drug dealer came here this day, this time, with this license plate, and this is what they look like. And they sold these drugs, and here's some evidence, and I have the drugs, and turn them in, okay? And do the best you can, all right? Every single police report, this is what happened here, this is what happened on this day, I called the police this day, this is what's going on, these people threatened me, these people harassed me, these people hit me up on social media, and they're saying this, and they're making threats or whatever. Everything that happens, chart everything, make a police report of everything. So if you do have to utilize a law, like self-defense or defense of others or lethal force or anything, then you have all these police reports backing you up for months and months and weeks and months and years, okay? And they'll be like, okay, you had all these reports. The cops didn't do anything. You did something because, you know, you're making all these reports and there's no arrest. And something eventually happened to where it was taken to the next level, and it was taken to the furthest extreme. And you're sorry. You were within your rights. These are your constitutional rights. Every law has their own constitution. The Texas Constitution, all these states have their own constitution, and the U.S. Constitution. Okay, you have the right to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, and the right to your property. Okay, and we'll get to that. Texas Penal Code Section 9.34. Okay, that's protection of life and health. Protection of life and health. Calling crisis intervention team, calling mental health, calling 988. You know, getting therapy. If someone's cutting themselves, or they're hurting themselves, or they're doing drugs, you can, what I interpret it as, you can kind of restrain them. You can kind of like calm them down. You can kind of prevent them from getting in the drug, like getting in the car of a drug dealer. You know, if you have a friend or family member and they're younger, you know, maybe they're your child, or it's you, okay, you have the right to kind of push them away and be like, hold on to them. And that's like physical force. You're not hurting them, but you're protecting their life and their health, because if they get in that car with that drug dealer, they're going to go off somewhere. They might disappear, okay? They might never come back. Or if you might just get a phone call from the police saying they're dead now in a park, or they're dead now in someone's house, or in someone's basement, on someone's couch, you know, and they were just discarded, and you know, the drug dealers just let them die. They didn't call the cops till it was too late, you know, and that happens all the time, you know. Sometimes when you overdose on fentanyl, people already know this, but I'm saying it, you get treated at a hospital with naloxone, but then the naloxone wears off. The Narcan and naloxone wears off, so they let you out of the hospital because they think you're okay. And if they're not trained well, and a lot of the nurses and doctors aren't really trained that well, they let you out of the hospital. The medicine wears off, and then the opiates kick back in. The fentanyl kicks back in, and then they overdose and die later once they get out of the hospital. After they get treated, the fentanyl kicks back in and they die. So you want to make sure you're monitored. If that ever happens to you or your family, make sure that treatment has continuous monitoring for as long as possible, days if you have to. Just tell them, hey, I know that fentanyl, you know, is powerful. I know that you know, naloxone and Narcan wears off after so many hours or whatever. It wears off, and the fentanyl, if they have enough fentanyl in their system, it can overpower the naloxone and Narcan after so many hours or days, and they could die, you know, if they don't have continuous treatment, continuous IV, continuous flow of the Narcan and naloxone in their system to reverse the opiates. Okay. So Texas Penal Code Section 9.34, protection of life and health. And that could be as simple as calling mental health, calling the crisis intervention team if they have that in your state. I'll put links to this in the notes, and getting them help that they need, okay? So there's also duress, okay? Texas Penal Code Section 8.05, okay? For Texas specifically, this is Texas I'm talking about. You know, that's duress. If you're in complete distress, you're in complete like agony, anguish, or mental distress, and you're under duress, that you're in fear for your life, for your friend's life, for your child's life, and you have to do something. You have to, you know, run off, or you have to fight, or you have to call the cops, or if you have to, you know, if there has to be a shootout or something like that, to where you have to defend yourself, or maybe just assault or whatever you decide. And you're just going crazy because you're under this distress, and people have died around you. You've seen it. People are overdosing. People are, you know, asphyxiating. People are dying from their brain frying, from, you know, the core body temperature overheating from overdosing on different drugs, ecstasy or K2 or spice, or all these different things that people are doing these days, and or heroin, and people are getting AIDS, and you're seeing people, you know, die everywhere, and you're just under duress, and the drug dealer's still coming after you, so won't leave you alone, you know, or the cartel, or they're threatening you. They're saying, you know, we're gonna mess you up, we're gonna finish the job. Some drug dealers said, we're gonna finish the job. They started, maybe they attacked you, they're gonna finish the job, and you're afraid, and you have to defend yourself. If you go to prison, if you defend yourself, if you kill someone and you go to prison, then you'll know in your heart that you had to do what you had to do, and you did the right thing, because otherwise you'd be dead. And you'll eventually get out of prison. You might get less time. You could go to hospital. If you're under duress, crime of passion, mental illness, Mental illness, you might get insanity defense. Always consider these legal options, right? If you get insanity defense, you have bipolar schizophrenia, you know, that's a mitigating circumstances. You might only get 1 or 2 years in a hospital, right? If they say you're not a danger to yourself or others anymore, you're not a threat to society, and they understand your situation, you are protecting your child, you are protecting yourself, you know, they have evidence, you have all these police reports, you have hundreds of police reports that you've been making over the years, and you know, you have a lot of character witnesses, you have family, and you have friends that are your character witnesses in court, and you know, then you're gonna have a good case. You're gonna have a much better case than most people who are not prepared or don't study the law. Okay, so this is what let me see here. Okay, this is what these are the laws. These are Texas laws. Okay, and you want to confirm and research every single state. If you're in Arkansas, if you're in Illinois, if you're in New York, LA, California, if you're in Chicago, Washington DC, Oregon, you know, Tennessee, Mississippi, Louisiana, North Dakota, South Dakota, North Carolina, any of these states, right? Kansas or Arizona, any state, Nevada, any state, any 50 state, right? You want to confirm the laws specifically in your state, okay? For self-defense, defense of others. The last one I almost forgot to mention is defense of property, okay? Texas Penal Code Section 9.42. 9.42. That's deadly force to protect your property. It's very specific. You have to look up the exact circumstances to where you can legally defend your property with lethal force. But in some cases, very specific, you can use lethal force. Someone breaks in your house, you know, and you believe they're trying to steal something, but it's your place of dwelling. Okay, it's where you sleep. It's where you take care of your family. It's called castle doctrine, I believe. It's called there's kind of like stand your ground. Okay, and if someone breaks in your house, not only are you under duress, but you have the right to defend your property with lethal force. Okay, and you have the right to defend yourself and your family with lethal force. So you have all these laws in your favor. Okay, if you're in your vehicle, if you're in a place at work, you know, you have the right to protect yourself from armed robbery, from murder, from you know, from physical violence, from anyone who's using unlawful, illegal force against you or your family or your children. Okay, these are the laws. This is what I wanted to discuss on this, and also keep in mind, I'm gonna go over some more circumstances in the next video, but these are the laws you need to understand. Okay, master them, read the notes, download them, research them, use AI, use Google, use you know, Texas code, use these codes in your state, look up the U.S. Constitution, look up the Constitution of your state, and maybe consult with a lawyer. Go to askalawyer.com. Also put that in the notes, askalawyer.com. Talk to a lawyer, talk to a specialist, okay? And be very aware and know your rights. Be very aware of your rights and know your rights, okay? Thanks for sticking around. Stay safe, stay very safe. Be careful out there. Protect yourself and protect your family. Be a protector, okay? A survivor, protector, provider, okay? Stay safe and take care.